Hello and welcome to Back to the Boardroom. I'm Greer.
And I'm James.
And this week we're talking all about kids' banking apps. It was a good episode this week.
Money, money, money. It was.
It was fun. I enjoyed that it started with another Lord Sugar being virtual, jumping through on a game, which set up sort of high expectations of what their games could look like. They didn't really reach it.
Definitely. And I think I need to start doing a register for old Lord Sugar because, you know, his attendance rate is lacking, to be honest.
It is. I want to know what he does. I like that we come up with our own ideas, but I really, really want to know because it probably is going to be stranger than anything that we can come up with. So shall we go through what the task was this week?
Yeah, sure. So this week, the teams had to build a banking app for kids and also a companioned money box aimed at 6 to 9 year olds. And they had to do this and then obviously pitch the prototypes, both app and money box, to 3 investors. So I think it was TSB, Go Henry and Monzo for a massive, I think they said 1 million initially, but Lord Sugar said 1.1 in the boardroom. So over £1 million investment up for grabs.
Definitely. So they wanted to do a good job. We always have to talk about the pick for team leaders and the switching round of teams. So there are a few people that went to the other teams. Frederick and Anissa swapped and Amber Rose and Jordan did too. But I always think it's funny the reasons that they come up with as to why they want to be team leader or project manager. So Dean said that he was interested in doing it this week because he is a parent and he's the only parent on the whole thing. And I thought, okay, that kind of makes sense. But Frederick then put himself forward sort of as if, you know, his only reasoning was, well, I've spoken to some children before.
Yeah, that was quite interesting. It seemed much more of a contest on ascendancy than parallel for
Definitely.
team leader.
Yeah, and Dean voting for himself made me laugh at the end of that too. So yeah, it was Frederick versus Jordan. And in that initial discussion about when they were sort of coming up with the ideas, Jordan had no ideas. He sat there just going, so did they not get given options like they usually do?
I feel like the producers have done him a dirty there by just giving him a montage of when I bet you that was a lot longer than it seemed.
Probably. So they came up with mythical worlds as an idea on Jordan's team. Chisola came up with that. And then Mia, for the other team, came up with dogs, which I thought was a crowd pleaser, but maybe a bit too straightforward. What did you make of their choices?
I don't know. I actually kind of liked both, to be honest. Like, I even immediately, as soon as I heard mythical, I thought a cauldron money box. And I think they had similar ideas. So I thought that was okay. And the dog, pets are always a winner. Obviously, we'll talk about the execution of that maybe later on. But initially, I thought both seemed like potential good ideas.
I thought so. I think it's definitely time to go through some of our top moments from the episode because there were so many. The first one that I want to bring up is Anissa. She seemed to have a real desire to make the educational game actually quite scary and frightening for children and teach them a lesson about money, including having bankruptcy at the end of the dog game.
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah, do not pass go.
But then also on the other team, they were talking a lot about cybersecurity and when you're shopping online and don't fall victims to scams. And I thought, is everyone forgetting that this is a children's banking app and not just for the everyday person? Surely, I don't know, between 6 and 9, I wasn't shopping online for things, but maybe online shopping didn't exist. Who knows? You're
probably right, yeah. Yeah, exactly. There's potentially two ends of the spectrum, really, we saw, and not a nice middle ground. But that's maybe what they engineered and what they wanted it to be. But yeah, I thought Anissa was one of my top moments, and that was in the stage where they were forming the teams. She was very like, "You're not the project manager, you can't decide," and it was just an odd dynamic. She really wanted that sub-team leader.
She really did. Maybe this is the burnout setting in, but people were getting more annoyed with all the decisions and things. So maybe that was what was happening. But she did seem to be quite annoyed throughout a lot of the episode. One of my other favourite quotes from this week comes from Jordan when they came back with what was going to be the cauldron with the money in, but it turned out to be, I guess, like a sack of some kind with the money in, like a pot of gold. He said they've used the colour of a potato or something less pleasant.
You stole my next moment. Yeah, that was a good
quote.
It was a good one. I thought he was referring to the logo initially, because that was also potato coloured.
Yes, that is true. A lot of brown going on. Maybe that was the colours they were given, but yeah, it was a lot of beige brown.
Indeed. But by far, my best moment, I think, of the whole episode was Amber Rose's constant reactions during the pitch. They just panned over to her, and I think it was at least 8 to 10 times they went over to her and there was a different reaction, and I just thought it was hilarious.
It was good. It was a bit like in The Office, you know, when they look at the camera and do all the sort of staring straight at you thing. I liked it. It was, pretty funny. I'm going to lower the tone slightly of the podcast because I really took issue with the name Mythical Bank. I thought it sounded like Cockney rhyming slang. I didn't like the phrase, I'm going to go visit the Mythical Bank now. Yeah, not a good one. Definitely not something you'd want to do with children's banking either. I do have a question for you before we move on. I found this actually quite difficult to come up with sort of, opinions on whether the dog or the game or anything was fit for the target audience, because I don't know many 6 to 9 year olds, and they seemed on The Apprentice to be saying that, okay, it's quite babyish, that 6 to 9 year olds seem to know more than I give them credit for. Like, did you find that weird? Could you tell that a dog was going to be for 2 to 3 year olds? What do you mean 2 to 3 year olds have preferences? I thought they're young.
Yeah, I did think, I didn't expect a dog to be for 2 to 3 year olds. I thought it would be nearer to the age range. I think it's been a while since I was that old, so I can't remember. Can't remember.
I was surprised as well. I was like, I'm very out of touch of this task. So I dread to think what the elevator pitch is going to be like this week if it's for 6 to 9 year olds.
Yeah, I think we've got to do some tweaks there. But yeah, final thing on the top moments, ending on a positive note. I really thought, to be honest, I thought Frederick and Chizola, their pitching today was pretty good. I loved both of them quite similar I think both of them were storytelling.
Yes.
Really engaged the audience, I think. So yeah.
Yeah, they were
Thumbs
both
up.
really, really good. But if you put that in contrast with some of Kia's moments, but then also Liam, Liam did the worst pitch in the world, I'm afraid, on there. Kept saying, you might think children would think quizzes are a little bit boring and they don't like it, but oh no. So yeah, you're right. Frederick and Chizola, They were so much better.
I can sympathise though, because when it comes to presenting, I'm definitely on the lower end. So
I would disagree with that. And I'm sure our listeners would too.
Now it's that time of the show for the elevator pitch, and boy have I got some redeeming to do. Absolute car crash last week, so it's been decided by me that I'm going first this time, and we're not having an independent adjudicator.
Wow.
So
James has taken this so seriously.
So We're going to keep it quite simple this week. As usual, our 30 seconds on the clock. And myself and Greer are just going to talk to you about our ideas for a children's banking app or some way to engage children in money.
And a money box idea like the show could be, if you want to include that.
If you want, I'm
Okay.
not going to.
I'm interested. It sounds like you might have a good idea, and there's a lot of pressure on because apparently I didn't think you ruined it last week, but you've been down on yourself for a whole week on the elevator pitch. So are you ready for your 30 seconds to redeem yourself and potentially win this week's elevator pitch?
I'm ready.
Okay. 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so weirdly enough, I did like Ascendancy's idea of collecting coins, but it was a bit too simplistic and obviously no educational aspect. So we've got to build some levels in there because people like leveling up or comparing themselves to others. And I think basically to unlock a level, you should have some sort of question or test before that level. So the more enjoyable part is behind the educational part. Hey, it's a bit of time. Okay, there we go. So levels, question, then game.
Okay. I like that. You've thought about the logistics of what makes a good game and what's going to keep the children coming back to...
Exactly. I've essentially
learning more.
just stolen their idea and made it better.
Well, yeah. But we can make their ideas better because we're not in the process.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. So I'm fully expecting a money box idea from you now.
Okay.
But-
yeah, I had thought that is maybe what you'd ask me.
Okay, well, yes, it's your choice. App, money box, bit of both. Your 30 seconds starts now.
Okay, well, on my children's banking app, I'm going to do it as a space alien sort of theme. I'm going to teach the children about saving money through a rocket game. The more you save, the closer the rocket gets to interesting planets. And if you spend, the rocket comes back down a little bit. So it kind of teaches you the value of money and saving and things like that. I also think a rocket money box would be really cool with some stars on it as well. Maybe a little alien in a window or something. And you can also have your own alien avatar, I was going to say.
We had a lot to say this week. Yeah, I like it. I like the space idea. I think I would slightly change it, I think. Maybe a race to the moon. So you've got to get your rocket to the moon. I
thought, yeah. I was thinking of like a sort of exploration, looking at the different planets or something. But I don't know. Maybe you could teach them different money lessons when you get to the different planets. But yeah, the moon is good. You could also have a money box moon. That would be cool.
That would be cool. The moon is not made of cheese, it's made of pound coins.
Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah. And you could also, I don't know whether it would be classed as like gambling and really frowned upon, but I feel like a reward at the end would be cool. Like, you know, a voucher to go to Nando's or Legoland or something like that.
I feel like you need like a space themed voucher of some kind. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah. That definitely works. I agree with you. I like how you've slightly tapped into the social media side of things with your app because the comparison and the levels. Maybe there's a leaderboard. Maybe you can sort of connect with your friends, but not connect in a way that you can see how much is in their bank account, but connect with. I don't know, on the levels somehow.
How near the person has got to the moon.
Yeah, exactly. Or the quiz that you're going to do. Who knows?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So, yeah, I think two decent elevator pitches there. Let us know what you thought, obviously, at Back to the Boardroom on Instagram.
Do you feel like you redeemed yourself?
I think so.
Good. Now let's go back to the boardroom where we find out exactly how both teams did. And now I like it when we go into the boardroom because it's the first time the other team sees what the others have been doing. And I think this week there are a few sort of amused sort of smirks from the other team when they announced Mythical Bank with the logo and the sort of very brown pot of gold.
Yeah, indeed. I think probably both teams were quite like, ooh. you know, interested in each other's and, interesting reactions.
Definitely. And I like to think that it's Lord Sugar's first sort of viewing of both of them. It's not. He's got to come up with those jokes, or he's got to at least read them off the sheet of paper. But I do like how he sort of gets them to talk it through all the time, which is good. Now, surprisingly, I've written down, obviously, the investments, as we do every week. But it's just a huge surprise with the numbers. The disparity was mad. So Tim said that the panel thought it lacked synergy, but they liked the quiz element and the cybersecurity bit, which some of the team members weren't so thrilled about. And all three of them invested, which I was completely shocked by. £465,000? No, have I said that right? Yeah,
465,000,
which is a lot. Karen, though, she did a little bit of a sort of cheeky way of announcing. So she said, one investor thought the age group was wrong, but the two others had much more major concerns.
Exactly,
which she thought the other two were going to invest. So they said the main concern was the lack of financial literacy in the game. There wasn't any sort of educational element, and they had no investments at all. So I feel like it's unheard of, really, to get all three investments and then completely none. I was surprised that the dog didn't get any investments. I thought it would at least get some.
Just I think overall a bit disconnected. I think that was the problem.
Yeah. Lord Sugar said, "Not a penny, bloody hell," which I liked.
Yeah, I liked his quote, "Money and dogs, design a greyhound then."
That was good.
Yeah, he definitely prepared that one.
Yes, he did. So yeah, it was a bit of a shock, I guess, in the boardroom. And obviously we saw 2 people leave, which is the first double firing of the series. I was like, James needs to note this down in our predictions because the first one has happened. And I was a little confused when it wasn't Dean that went, because he came up with the game and he was really adamant that actually it had to be fun and addictive rather than educational. I know Anissa went completely the opposite end of the spectrum, but Dean still did create the game, which was their main concern.
I think the thing that changed it from him to Keir was that, firstly, he's not an app designer, and he admitted that. But secondly, he said, hands up, I messed up. And I think on a level, Lord Sugar likes that, whereas Keir was like, I thought I aced the pitch still.
Yeah, he did. And it was another one of those things where we've seen it throughout the series. If you haven't made an impact, if you haven't had a go, at least like Dean did with the game, you're going to go. Johnny, last week, he hadn't heard much from him. Keir, again, this week, it was a bit like, okay, you did the pitch, but, what else? So, yeah, Lord Sugar, I think, is rewarding, as you say, people who do give it a go and then actually admit when they were wrong.
Yeah, definitely. And interesting that, he let Frederick choose and then was like, no, actually, you're fired, and then everyone else is coming back.
Yeah, brutal, but some fun tactics there.
Yeah, indeed.
One thing everyone will want to know from you, James, is, do we have another chart? Is it a Gantt chart? What is the secretary up to?
We don't have a Gantt chart. It's some sort of calendar or maybe a financial projection. So I saw secretaries using the new office because autosave is on. Can't lose that data. But I did see 3 columns on this table being January, February, March. So I guess some sort of financial accounting or planning for the months. There we go.
That's interesting.
That is the secretary at work. We only saw, I think, her screen once this episode.
So you really had to be sat there waiting for it to come up.
Yeah, on it. Yeah.
And the other thing we have to talk about is obviously the treat, because you have quite strong opinions on what makes a good treat and what doesn't. And this week I'm interested because it's controversial. It was an adults only soft play centre. Good, bad?
So bad. Talk about like, they said in the episode, you've insulted the kids by, giving them some childish things. So that's exactly what you've done, Lord Sugar, to the business men and women of the show. Rubbish. What are you doing? No, not acceptable.
It wasn't. It looked kind of bad. It looked like, I imagine they were in that sort of climbing frame thing for about 5 minutes and then just went home. I think they went in, got the shot, and probably left.
Yeah, just no. Not impressed. It's pretty much down there. I think it's one of the worst.
Yeah, definitely.
Brutal. Sorry.
Is it worse? It sounds like you're going to put it worse than the gunpowder plot reenactment.
Oh, yeah, because I would have at least enjoyed that slightly. Yeah.
Okay.
It's probably sitting at the bottom. No invest from me, Lord Sugar. And on the note of the treat, we move on to Brand Watch because there are a couple of things I actually noticed throughout the show, including the treat. So they were obviously all wearing gym wear at the treat because it's sweaty, I guess. So I obviously have a keen eye for brands, so I saw that Nike and Gymshark were featured on some of the candidates' clothes. But not only that, when we went back to the house, two things. In the house in the morning, someone had a Stanley Cup, because those things are in fashion. It might not have been a Stanley Cup, but it probably is. And also at the end, when they all got back, they were in the kitchen. And did you notice some Robinson's fruit and barley on the counter?
That's good. I like how you spot these things. I'm too busy probably thinking about stuff or writing on my laptop, and you're there being like, that is Robinson's fruit and barley. Yeah. Did you get the flavour?
Yeah, so I think there was a orange, and in front of it, summer fruits.
Nice, summer fruits. Or it might have been best.
It might have been pink grapefruit. It's hard to tell when you have fruit and barley, but yeah, there we go. Brand Watch. Also, sorry, just a bit about the house. I thought the hairdryer, which I think Liam was using in the morning, looked like ones you get in a travel lodge. So need to up the game a bit there.
That's true. Maybe they've spent all the budget on those Pret sandwiches they have to eat.
So there we go. Brand Watch for this week.
As we're at the halfway point, James is going to give us a bit of a prediction check-in because, as you may remember, at the start of this season, we noted down who we thought would be the winner, how many double firings there were going to be, and various other big ticket predictions. So I'm intrigued. I want to know whether I've got any of them right this far, or are you on for a winner? How are we doing?
So, obviously, we had the interesting double prediction this year. So before anything had happened and after the first episode. So I'm only going to go into the ones we did after the first episode today. So we start with the 9 a.m. narrator announcements, as I've put for some reason. It should be 4 a.m., but there we go. Yep. And if you remember, I said 19 distinct hours. Greer, you said 17. Now, I have a slight confession to make. Episode 3, I think they were in Austria. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure. If you remember, I wrote all my notes on a piece of paper because I was away.
Yes.
I threw that piece of paper away before noting down because I had the hours on those, but it went in the bin before I remembered that I needed those for the spreadsheet. So I'm missing one episode of hours. So this is provisional results. So take this with a pinch of salt. But I have counted we are up to 13 distinct hours. Of course, we've had 4 a.m., 7 a.m., 8 a.m., 9 a.m., 10 a.m., 11 a.m., 12 p.m., 2 p.m., 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 p.m. so far.
Oh, that worries me slightly because I said 17 and we've still got quite a few episodes to go. I know that they're going to repeat some of the times the narrator is going to say them again, but I think I might have gone too low.
Yeah, I have a feeling you might be right there.
Okay.
But because of course I also have a historic episode I have to go and do my homework on too.
Yep.
As for the winner, we are both still in the hunt. I said Dean, you said Anissa. Both are still in it. Whereas the runner-up, I've lost that one immediately with Dr. Jana. And Greer, you're still in the hunt with Mia. And I think it's possible. I think she could possibly win.
I think so. I feel like my prediction of Anissa is not great.
We move on to quite a pertinent one for this week, double firing. Both of us said yes, there will be. I said there'll be one, and you said there'll be two. So fingers crossed, Lord Sugar doesn't double fire any more people. Now, the next one is hard, really, because I think we need to go and study it a bit more for the worst project manager. I believe both of them are out. So I said Nadia and you said Kia.
Yes. I feel like you have a good pick there with Nadia. Her week was quite spectacular for the project management overriding of anybody else's opinions. It's subjective, but you're onto a good name there.
Yeah, potentially. We'll probably have to remember what Kia did as it's his turn at project manager, but you never know. So, biggest blunder we move on to now. Myself, I chose Frederick, and you chose Johnny. If I had to, out of thin air, pick the biggest blunder, I remember Frederick with the staring competition. That was a big blunder. And Johnny with the rhubarb.
The rhubarb and the, what are your favourite kind of olives?
Yes.
Both of I feel like the staring competition might have been worse.
Well, we might have to get the audience's participation on that one. And then this one's interesting because I can't actually remember who's who. Because we put team scores at the end of the 10 weeks of team challenges, I guess, because you've got the final and the interviews. And we used the names Glacier and Forest, and I don't actually know what that... Which, did Glacier become parallel or ascendancy? We're going to have to figure that one out. I said 6-4, Greer, you said 5-all.
Okay.
And that is the summary of our post-week 1 predictions.
I feel less confident. I was going into this hopeful. Now we've heard what I have chosen and the outcomes. I am not sure whether this is going to be part of the podcast that I win this year.
Next week, I think I'll do a quick dive, not a deep dive, at some of the crazy predictions we did before the whole thing started. And now for my favourite part of the show, with unfortunately no external correspondence this week, not devaluing the main presenter, of course, it's Apprentice News. Greer.
I feel very devalued. Yes, it's Apprentice News this week. And we've had some quite sort of big hitters in the news. We've had Celebrity Apprentice and the candidates that are going to be on that. And we had lots of interviews from some of the other candidates that have been fired and also from previous years. And the news this week is that the main man himself, Lord Sugar, is actually going to be interviewed also on BBC. So on BBC Two, on the 20th of March, he is going to be speaking with Amal Rajan, and he's going to be talking about the future of Britain, which concerns me slightly, but also his own career, which I'm more happy to listen to him talk about. So just in the Amal Rajan interview's description, it also says that Lord Sugar talks all about how he became to have his face all over television from growing up as a working class child in Hackney. So it might be interesting to hear his sort of entrepreneurial spirit and his business story. But at the same time, they also said more than half a century since he launched himself on the business world, what does the host of The Apprentice think about the current state of the country where he has achieved so much? And what insights can he share about the path forward for Britain's economy, British business and British society? You know he's one of strong opinions. They go out on Twitter. So what is he going to be saying?
100% he says about people being lazy, wanting to work from home.
Yes. Maybe we should do a Amal Rajan interviews Alan Sugar bingo card.
Bingo
He's going
card,
to
yeah.
say that, definitely. He's probably going to say how Britain is still the best place to be an entrepreneur. You know, there's some good business opportunities, but you've got to work really hard, sort of thing. There'll be a lot of, I guess, maybe we're being unfair, but I think there'll be some generational differences spoken about. So I think that would be a really good one. If you haven't had enough of Lord Sugar and The Apprentice for 1 week, check out Amal Rajan interviews, and it's on the 20th of March, which I also think, is that a Friday? No, it's the Thursday. So it is a bumper Apprentice Day next week.
I'm sure we'll feed back on that.
I actually will. I'm going to watch it, and I'm going to let you know if some of our bingo predictions were correct there, because I think it will be an interesting interview.
Fantastic. There we go. Thank you, Greer, for that news. Remember, if you want to be an external correspondent, let us know at Back to the Boardroom.
It is now time for Where Are They Now?, where James takes a look back at last year's contestants who left the process this week and finds out what they have been up to since the show. So, who was fired this time last year?
It was the one and only DJ Verdi. We had a lot of love for DJ Verdi. So, as per usual, I've been having a quick look on the Instagram. There's not too much, but he's done a presenting gig at a very glamorous event, it looks like. He also did a 24-hour live stream in aid of Mind charity. That was around Christmas time last year, which is very good, very important. And I guess an inspirational post on, what a year 24 has been, and talking about, there are ups and downs. Don't put pressure on yourself. Don't compare yourself to other people. Just do what you can and move forward. So nice inspirational stuff there. And also recently looks like he's popped over to Austria. I wonder if he bumped into any of the Apprentice candidates.
That would have been good.
Although they were probably there quite a while ago. But yeah, there we go. DJ Verdi, producer, international DJ, and Apprentice UK Series 18 candidate.
So there we have it. Kids, banking apps, all sorted. Dogs, and whatever the mythical bank was, which I'm still unsure. It's a good episode though, and we have yet another good one coming up next week. It is hot sauces and coming up with their own brand. A great food task again, and also there are going to be some more very amusing adverts. So I'm looking forward to it.
I really enjoy the food one, so I'm really looking forward to it, and I'm sure it'll make me hungry.
Definitely. As always, if you haven't subscribed, please do on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And you can follow us on Instagram at Back to the Boardroom. And let us know if you see any Apprentice news out in the wild. James, do you have a final thought for us this week?
Yeah, do you think Lord Sugar's ever been to soft play?
That's the best final thought we've had.
Yeah. See you next week.
Bye.